Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're joining us today. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're just going to give a quick overview about our accommodation offering. I'm just going to allow a minute for everyone to join. So we'll be with you shortly. I'm really liking the emojis, reactions. Please send us some love. Great. While we're waiting as well, feel free to add in the chat where you're joining us from as well. It's always good to see where everyone is joining us from. Okay, great. We've got lots of people from Egypt. We've got some from Pakistan as well, Turkey, great. London, lovely. Okay, so I think we're ready to kick off. So hi everyone. Again, my quick introduction. My name is Iksha. I'm one of the market managers, and I'm based here in the London office. Today I'm joined by Milan. I'll let him introduce himself in a bit. But yeah, we're going to be covering accommodation, our offerings. Sorry, the offerings that we have, but mainly this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions you have with our accommodation team while we've got them here today. So throughout the session, please feel free to leave us some emojis, reactions. That is something that we always appreciate. Also, we've got a Q&A as well box. So if you've got any questions throughout the session, please feel free to add them in the Q&A box and we will address them at the end. So we have about 95 participants. It's lovely to see so many of you here today. So now I'm going to hand over to Milan. Over to you, Milan.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for having me, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning here in London. My name is Milan Navratil. I work as a sales analysis manager within accommodation team here at Kaplan, and it's my real pleasure to be here today with you to take you to the power and introduce you to the power of college accommodation and how we can all together unlock our student success. Before we start, I would like to also share my experience as an international student. So I was lucky enough to attend high school in Germany. For my undergraduate degree, I studied in Prague, Czech Republic. I had also an opportunity to participate in an exchange program, and I went for a year abroad in New York City in the United States. And for my postgraduate degree, I went to actually our university partner, University of Essex. So trust me, as an international student, I've been through what actually our students go through. So I completely understand the challenges they might face and how we can support them. You might actually ask, why does college housing even matter? We actually got inspired by the University of Connecticut because they look into the difference and whether actually the different accommodation has an impact on the academic results students achieve, whether students live on campus with the University of Connecticut or they choose any private accommodation. Does it make any difference in their academic success? The university found that it does make success. It makes difference if actually students stay with university accommodation. So we were very curious to understand whether actually the same results are achieved with our college accommodation. And the results were actually quite very positive. So we took all our students who enroll with us between 2022 and 2023 across all colleges, and we were curious to see how they actually did with their, academic studies. So students who actually stay in college, Kaplan accommodation, uh, 3% more students actually pass their pathway course compared to students who actually stay in private accommodation. 4% more students actually progress into their chosen university compared to students in private accommodation. And students in college accommodation also did achieve overall grade. Usually on average 0.7 points, they did better than students in private accommodation. So here is the message that by ensuring your students book college housing, you set them on the right path to success. So it does make a difference whether actually a student stay in college accommodation or in private accommodation, as in college accommodation, they do better academically. Obviously, that's the factual numbers where we basically see how students do better. But we took all these facts and numbers to the colleges to better understand what is it that, makes students in college accommodation more successful. What is the magic behind that drives the success? And together with the colleges, we were able to actually look at the drivers. So obviously direct college involvement, students who stay in college accommodation, the college has overview over that accommodation and can better support students' well-being if perhaps they need any support. Obviously, if a student stays in a private accommodation, there is no college involvement or no college overview. Obviously, enhanced social engagement and friendship is crucial, especially as a international student in completely new country. You need to build your support network and make some friends, to feel better, to have the support you might need. And we understand and we know that in college accommodation, it's much easier for students to build that support network they actually need to communicate and build friendship with your classmates much easier than with, someone from a completely different university from in private accommodation. What was very interesting to see is that the students in college accommodation achieve higher attendance, and it's simply because that students in college accommodation usually book their accommodation in advance, while students in private accommodation usually rely on finding something when they actually come to the UK. And obviously, it has the negative impact on their attendance because they usually go for viewing and, search the options while they should have been in the class. Um, College accommodation also come with streamlined budgeting. So there is fixed costs that includes all the bills. So obviously it makes it much more easy for students to make their budget. There are no surprises with council tax, water bills, electricity bills, anything else that basically can come with private accommodation. And obviously, college accommodation, it comes with reduced distractions because everybody has the same goal, and that's basically succeed with their course and progress into the university. There is just a quick summary with for the reasons to apply for college accommodation. Obviously, it's very much related to the drivers, but just in a summary, the community, students live and share their experience with their classmates. Flexible contracts. Our contracts are designed to align with students' course days. So a two-term student would have an opportunity to book a two-term contract. A three-term student would have the opportunity to book a three-term contract. All-inclusive bills or our accommodation fees include all the bills. As I mentioned, transparent costs, safety and security, very important to us to ensure that our students have a safe place to call home, and support, because obviously we all understand sometimes things happen. So we have a dedicated accommodation team that ensures a smooth living experience. Now, if we look at the college accommodation and eligibility to apply for college accommodation from the admissions process perspective, so the first part, obviously, submitting the application. When the application becomes in progress, our admissions officers issue either conditional or unconditional offer. Students then decide to accept one of the offer and pay the tuition deposit when their offer becomes conditional or unconditional acceptance. And at that time, basically, a student become eligible to book college accommodation and they receive an invitation email to do so. I would like to highlight under 18 students. As we know, under 18 students are considered children in the UK. So students under 18 must book college accommodation unless an exception is granted by our compliance team. To give an example of such an exemption is perhaps if that student has a relative who lives in the city where students intend to study, and his family would perhaps prefer for their child to basically stay with this relative. Under 18 students require a higher duty of care, so hence students should stay in college accommodation where we have the support network to ensure that students actually are well looked after. And obviously, we all understand that a CAF cannot be issued without confirmed accommodation. For all under 18 students, we offer single gender flats and daily well-being checks in locations like Bournemouth, Brighton, Glasgow, Liverpool, London, and Nottingham. We also have on-site well-being coordinator who actually lives on-site and is available 24/7 for any support that might be needed. I would like to also highlight a difference between sponsored and self-funded students in terms of accommodation application. Obviously, both students go through the same application process, but there are some differences which I would like to highlight. So self-funded students, they will need a guarantor to co-sign their accommodation agreement, but we do not require a UK-based guarantor. So for the need to co-sign the accommodation agreement for the college accommodation, it can be simply a parent or their guardian. They can request a payment plan, but there is no guarantee that that payment plan will be approved. While on the other hand, sponsor students, we do not require a guarantor as we consider the sponsorship letter as a sort form of guarantee. And all sponsor students are pre-approved for monthly payment plan. So this is certainly something that compared to private market is a big advantage to consider, especially for sponsor students as they are pre-approved for monthly payment plan. To request a payment plan, basically a student just needs to go on kaplanpathways.com/payment plan and submit the information. If I just quickly take you to the form, just for you to see it. So this is the payment plan request form, very easy to complete. Basic information, then the reason for such a request, and then the student just needs to submit. We expect our finance team to basically review such a request within 2 business days, and then basically make that decision. As I said, from the admission perspective, when a student becomes eligible, students are invited to book their college accommodation. This is the invitation email. When it actually comes into their inbox, they are able to log in into their Kaplan account. And then within the Kaplan account, they can just click the Kaplan Living tab, and it will bring them to our accommodation booking portal. Kaplan account is very important for each student to set up, as it will allow them a direct access not only to the accommodation portal called Kaplan Living, but also into online payment portal for students to make easily payment. But also later when they enroll, it will allow them to access the virtual learning platform for engagement with their course. So it's important to set up a Kaplan account early when an offer is issued, so the student can basically have the access where it actually matters. Now I will take you quickly through the accommodation booking portal. A student can complete all the steps within 10 minutes. I will just take you through it so you understand it from a student perspective, and it should take us less than a few minutes. So when a student logs into Kaplan account and then clicks the Kaplan Living tab, it will bring them basically to the Kaplan Living accommodation booking portal. When a student then clicks create a booking, it will highlight to each student their course duration, and also the college will be studying at. It will also bring residences available. As you could see, there were no contracts available for Stanley House, as we do allow students usually to book across various intakes. Currently, students can book for summer 2023, apologies, summer 2024, autumn 2024, and spring 2025. So not all residences are actually available for each intake. So this September 2024 students doesn't have an option Stanley House, but they can choose a contract with Kaplan Living Nottingham. So if a student then choose the contract, the student had two options: the short contract that lasts from September until December, or the full contract for their course. Then they have the option to choose room type. In this instance, I'm only working with a testing student, so there is only one room type currently set up for that student. So if I basically choose this one, there is a summary of the residence chosen, room type, and the contract dates, including the price that comes with that accommodation contract. And after a student just confirms the selection, they also have an option to let us know any allocation preferences, whether it's just female flat only, male flat only, higher floor, lower floor. So we can basically consider any preferences a student makes when they make their application, and we can allocate a room according to that preference if available. Obviously, the sooner the student applies, the more allocation options we have. So I would encourage all students to submit their accommodation application when they become eligible. When a student basically submits the application, our accommodation team has 24 hours or one business day to review the application. If a student applies during Monday to Friday, during our business hours, obviously the allocation will take only a couple of hours for us to review, and we will allocate a room a student chose, and student will be notified by email when we actually do so. When it happens, student then can log in back into the accommodation portal via Kaplan account, and and then they will see the active booking that has the application in progress. A student will be again on the portal, see that a room has been actually allocated, and then students can just proceed with the steps needed to confirm the accommodation booking. We do allow students to add extras, whether it's Kaplan Living Special Support that is actually mandatory for under 18 students, but it's optional for over 18 students. Students have then option to choose also a bedding pack. A standard bedding pack is free of charge and is included in the accommodation cost. So that's basically what a student can choose. They can also choose a kitchen pack, room cleaning, or laundry if the service is actually available for that specific residence, as not all extra services are actually available in all residences. So when a student makes that choice, they can just confirm their selection. It will bring them the summary of the choices they've made, just to make sure that they understand the cost. So you can see that the bedding pack comes with zero charge, as it's already included in the contract price. So in this instance, student basically just selected the standard bedding pack that is already included. Then a student needs to nominate a guarantor. As I mentioned, this step would be actually skipped for a sponsor student. So sponsor student wouldn't need to actually nominate a guarantor. Self-funded student, they need to nominate a guarantor. So just the information about the guarantor, such as first name, last name, email, relationship, and obviously contact details such as phone and address. These four are very crucial as basically these need to match when the guarantor co-sign the accommodation agreement, as we will basically validate the information with what actually students submitted. So after all the information is provided, you can see that we are letting the student know that we just email the guarantor to co-sign the accommodation agreement, and I will show you later how that actually looks like. After the student nominated the guarantor, the accommodation agreement is presented. Student can read it through on the portal. They can also download the accommodation agreement, read it later, and then come back to the portal to actually accept and sign. There are also cancellation and behavior policy available for students to read and download if needed. Otherwise, if a student is happy with the accommodation agreement and with the terms and conditions, then they can simply enter the city of signing, Dubai, for example, and their full name and save. I already uploaded the picture for the student, so otherwise the student would still need to upload a picture of them. Otherwise, the only pending actions now is receive payment. So a student still need to make a accommodation deposit payment of £1,000. That is required for all colleges in England. It is not a requirement for a college in Glasgow, Scotland. And then student needs to ask their guarantor to check their email and to co-sign the accommodation agreement. And I believe this is then the email that was sent to the guarantor, the student nominated. It basically just informed the guarantor that they were nominated by that student, and after a guarantor click here, they're basically just asked to include the four main fields that basically student actually completed and nominated them with. It needs to match. So if there is any discrepancy, for example, a guarantor is also trying to enter their middle name that actually a student skip and didn't include, that will create the discrepancy, and student will need to, or the guarantor will need to reach out to our team so we can actually update and correct that information. But otherwise, if all four fields match with what actually a student provided, then the guarantor will be able to read through the entire accommodation contract and co-sign it with us. Again, just city of signing, and then the booking will eventually be confirmed after also the accommodation deposit payment reaches our account. So that was just a quick dig through on our accommodation booking portal. So you can see it's not that difficult, and it can actually be completed quite quickly. I would like to also highlight two university partners where actually we expect students to apply directly with with our university partner and not via Kaplan. So students for IFP Bristol and University of Birmingham Foundation Pathways on campus need to submit their accommodation application directly to our respective university partner. There are some deadlines that do apply for this application. So you can see that the guarantee deadline for University of Bristol already passed, but there is still final deadline, 31st of July 2024, but there is no guarantee that the accommodation will be provided. So I would encourage you to, if you have a student for IFP Bristol, that you basically submit the application with the university for accommodation as quickly as possible. For University of Birmingham and the course of Foundation Pathways on campus, there is a deadline, guarantee deadline of 31st of July 2024. There are also contacts and resources available to actually reach our accommodation team, as we are available to support you. I will take you quickly on the website to show you what actually the information you can gain from our accommodation website. But there are also other ways to actually contact us. So on the website, there is actually a live chat support chat. So if you are actually on our website, you have the option to chat with our accommodation officers. You have also options to contact us on WhatsApp. I would perhaps suggest that you create a group, call it the Kaplan Accommodation, where you can also drop us a message on WhatsApp with any questions or concerns you might have. You can also, of course, call us with any questions or email us, and we aim to respond to you within one business day. You also have an option, or a student has an option to book a video call with our accommodation officer to discuss any questions. Slots are available throughout the day, Monday to Friday. So I will share this link with you in the chat, so you can actually book a call with our accommodation officer if you think it could actually benefit you or the student. And now when I actually take you to our Kaplan Living website, so there it basically provides information all accommodation options for each college. So if you choose the city of for your college, let's say Liverpool, and we then discover Kaplan Living Liverpool, there are all the information that you might want to know about the residence itself, what facilities it actually offers. There are also some feedback from actually our students from who are actually living or lived in the residence, and also you can discover a bit of video to understand more about the residence. What is very helpful tool for you is the live availability. Live availability is a tool that empowers you to understand what actually is currently available on our accommodation portal. So whatever a student can see on the accommodation portal is basically what actually you can see here on the website. So let's say if you have a student who is going to study, let's say at the University of Bournemouth, the student is over 18, starting in September, on a two-term course. When you hit the view rooms, it will basically bring you the availability for that specific college. So we can see that there is only one accommodation option, which is Kaplan Living Bournemouth. There are all the room types available. And also what you need to pay attention to is the contract dates. So you can see basically that this is the same room type, but it has we are offering under two different contracts. So it can be either two-term, the full course of running from September until June, or a short contract running from September until December, and obviously the cost that comes with it. If there are more residences available, let's for example see on Kaplan Kaplan International College pathway for a two-term, then you can see that there are four residences available. Two of them are already sold out, but there are still plenty of availability for other two residences, such as Urbanex Hoxton and Urbanes Battersea. So this is very helpful tool for you to consider whenever you are facing actually a student and the question of college accommodation comes across, and especially what actually is available, then you can simply go on our website, check the live availability, and then if you have any more questions, you can simply and Valentina is my lovely colleague here in London office. You can simply just enter your details and just start chatting with my colleague, and she will be able to guide you or advise you on any questions you might have. So I believe that's very much all. Obviously, if you have any questions, now it's the time to ask, as we are more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I will be also sharing with you um, I will also be sharing with you um, the link so you can book a session with our accommodation officer if you think it could actually benefit you or your student. So let me just share the link.
Thanks. Thanks, Milan, for the really informative session. So, we haven't got any questions at the moment. So again, this is a really good opportunity. If you've got any questions, please ask away, use the Q&A chat function, and then we're happy to address any questions you have. I have seen in the chat a couple of requests about the recording. So if you if you've joined or if you've signed up, you should receive the recording after the session, hopefully no later than tomorrow. So you can share the recording with other colleagues who weren't able to join today. But really what I would like you to take away is we're here to support any students we have. We've got loads of ways, methods for students to reach out to us. I know sometimes you may not know all the answers to the accommodation questions as well. So we're here to help. We've got live chat. We've got video calling. We've got WhatsApp. So we're able to help students in any platform. Really, I'm gonna have a quick look. Is there any? There isn't any. So I've got a quick question, Milan. I do, this is from my experience, I do come across some students who, for some reason, for unforeseen circumstances, they may want to switch accommodation halfway through, or maybe they've got a friend somewhere. So what, could you just explain what would be the process in these kind of cases?
Right. So we are always trying to be flexible whenever any request comes across. So it would always depend on many circumstances, like as you said, for example, if a student wants to change accommodation half through their contract. So it would really depend what would be the reasoning behind it. Obviously, we would discuss the options with each student. And but there's no simple answer to your questions, how we would proceed. As you know, as I said, it would basically depend on many factors we would need to consider. Obviously, the current availability. But yeah, as I said, we are always open to discuss any circumstances that might arise from a student, and see the best options for that student to move this forward.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a couple of questions here that are not related to accommodation, but I will try to answer them. So there's a question about study gaps. So if any students has any study gaps of more than 1 year, please send the CV and it will be reviewed by our admissions team on a case-by-case basis. There is another question about application deadline. So for the September intake, we will be accepting students. I mean, last year we were accepting until the beginning of October. So we can accept them last minute, given that they've got all the documents, they have enough time to apply for the visa. But if you've got any questions, please reach out to your relevant market manager and they should be able to provide this information. There's a question about promotions or discounts offered for accommodation. So again, this one, I would say if you've got any student who's keen to take Kaplan accommodation but needs a bit of discount, please reach out to your market manager. We will be reviewing those on a case-by-case basis. Okay, Milan, there's a question here about refund process. So if a student books accommodation and it isn't suitable or there's a change of circumstances, are the funds refundable?
So once actually the student confirms their accommodation booking with us, obviously the cancellation policy does apply. But there are circumstances, for example, if a student doesn't get their visa approved, then that's a legit reason for a student to cancel their accommodation and then have their accommodation costs refunded. So we would always follow the cancellation policy that applies. Student also, if they decide to cancel their accommodation mid through the accommodation contract, there's always an option to have the student replace. So then the student would only cover the accommodation cost until a new student moves in. So yeah, again, we would basically try our best to support the student, but we would always refer back to the cancellation policy as we communicate them at the beginning.
Great, thank you. And something to add here, I know Milan's covered about under 18 students already, but as under 18 are considered minors here in the UK, it's really important that they've got accommodation booked beforehand. So normally we would require students, under 18 students, to show proof of accommodation booking before we can issue the CAS. And because of under 18 students, it needs to be approved under 18 accommodation. So we always recommend the Kaplan accommodation. So if you've got any under 18 students, please encourage them to start looking into accommodation options that are available. They only need to pay £1,000 to secure their booking initially, because we've had some cases where they haven't booked and maybe our accommodation has become full, and we've tried to help the student find alternative accommodation. But any under 18 students, please do encourage them to book as soon as possible. Okay, any other questions? Milan, have we already discussed when is the best time to book? If not, should we go over when go over
no, when it's the best, well, the sooner
the better.
students book, the better, because obviously the more choices they will have when it comes to contract land, preferred residences, and room type. So we would certainly encourage students to book as soon as they accept their offer and pay the tuition deposit, making them eligible for the accommodation application. Simply giving the availability might be better for if they have any specific requests to make. But we always maintain single gender flats. So if a student prefers female only or male only, there should always be an option for students to have that allocated.
So, and just to add on that as well, if there's, if two students want to book together because they're friends, again, like Milan said, where there is that free text box to put the special request, you can put down the student's name or ID and say you want to live together, and we will always try our best to accommodate those requests.
Definitely, yeah, it's always an option for students to have them allocated together. Also, it just very recent case where we had a student who was really keen on a studio, but sometimes what actually students think that it's best for them is not always the true, as this student was actually quite introvert and really wanted a studio, and eventually when actually the availability changed and a studio became available, we allocated that studio to the student. But eventually, once the student enrolled, the studio actually had the negative impact on her well-being when she became really isolated, and requested actually to have a shared a flat where she basically still had her private bedroom and private bathroom, but benefited from a shared kitchen, which we consider is a great social space for students to get together, get to know each other, cook together, have a small talk. And students usually benefit from ensuite rooms because it still gives them the certain level of privacy with their private bedroom and private bathroom, but also give them a bit of social space, if they feel lonely, homesick, and want a bit of like social interaction. So this student who was so keen on a studio, and eventually was able to get it, then later changed for ensuite room, because it actually then benefited her and her well-being, and her actually academics went also up. So sometimes when a student communicates with you that a studio is the only option for them, it might be the right option for them, but not all the time. And we as a accommodation team always try to identify what actually is really the best option for the student. Because as I said, the ensuite rooms come with the great aspect of bringing the balance between having your own private space and having a place to actually socialize and make friends and create the social network that is so crucial as an international student in foreign country.
Definitely. Thank you, Milan. I've had a quick look. I don't think we've got any more questions. So I think this just means we've covered everything. So I think we will wrap up now. So thanks again, Milan, and thanks for everybody who joined us here today. We will be sharing the recording. Our contact details are here. So again, if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to us or your relevant market manager, and we will do our best to support your students. So hope you all have a good rest of the day, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.